Welcome to Module 6 about assessment. This lecture is based on Chapter 15 of the textbook Library Programs and Services, The Fundamentals by Greenwell and Evans. Assessment is evaluation of quality. Assessment involves observation and reporting of how something changed based on use. Assessment helps us decide whether to continue or cancel a service or a program or a collection or even a staff position. Assessment helps us to improve those that we do keep. We make decisions based on both data, which are inputs and outputs, and behaviors, which are outcomes. Libraries have done a good job of quantifying inputs and outputs. We track how much time and money we put into our projects, programs, our collections, our services. All those things are inputs. We also track outputs very thoroughly. We track how many checkouts, how many people attend programs, how many hours we're open, how many people come through the doors, how many interlibrary loans, how many reference questions are answered. We even break all that down even further. How many youth programs were offered, how many adult programs, how many staff we have in each department, and how many hours they work per week. How many reader advisory questions we answer versus how many ready reference versus how many tech support questions. So we're really good at quantifying data. Our funding entities expect it. And it's impressive to people to hear that, 30,000 questions were answered in a year or 5,000 people attended programs in a year. In more recent years, though, funding agencies are calling for more accountability. When those outputs trend downward, we have to explain ourselves. Funding agencies want to see return on investment. They want to believe that the library is a useful, relevant, beneficial service to the community. So in that way, outputs are just the start. Outcomes are the next level of assessment. We use outcomes to assess service impact. Outcomes assessment demonstrates that strong public libraries enhance the lives of people and their communities. It looks at the change in people's behavior, attitudes, how their lives are better or worse. Outcomes assessment isn't always positive after using a library service. For example, let's say a library offers a series of 3 career programs. One is a resume workshop, one is on interviewing techniques, and one is on job search tools and resources. The inputs are the staff time spent on creating the programs, lining up the presenters, or creating the content if they're presenting it themselves. They might use a career database that the library pays for. That's an input. They might pay for outside presenters. That's an input. The output is the number of programs offered, which is 3 in the series, the number of people who attended each, and maybe a demographic breakdown of those attendees. You could even break down the data into how many attended evening, weekend, or weekday sessions offered. Maybe weekend time slots were better attended by working age adults, and weekday morning time slots were better for seniors looking for hobby or retirement jobs. Maybe the evening slots were best attended by college students. Outcomes might be things like, to what degree did attendance at the session impact your approach to job searching? In what ways did the information learned in the session lead to new job opportunities? To what degree did the program make you feel more confident about job interviews? In what ways did the introduction of job search tools impact your job search strategy? So the answers to these questions are even more impactful to library funders than the outputs alone. They help tell the whole story of how the library contributes to community well-being. They put the library's services into context. We don't just have books about writing resumes or job search databases that we pay money for and that staff develop collections of. Those resources impact people's livelihoods and improve their success rate at finding jobs. Project Outcome is a service of the Public Library Association. There is an academic library equivalent too, which is sponsored by ACRL, the Association of College and Research Libraries. It includes training and tools to help libraries with outcome assessment in 7 service areas. Those 7 service areas are civic and community engagement, early childhood literacy, education and lifelong learning, summer reading, digital learning, economic development, and job skills. So take a look at the introductory video, which I'm going to link in the module, and any of the other archived webinars they offer on the Project Outcome website that may interest you. The toolkit includes survey templates and data dashboards for collecting and analyzing outcomes. It's a fantastic service that can really help libraries make a case for new resources, new funding, and new initiatives through strategic planning, or make a case to keep programs that are working. If data analysis and outcome assessment is new to you, Project Outcome is a fantastic way to get started because they offer all the tools to make it happen. Benchmark is another tool from the Public Library Association. It was launched in 2021. It provides libraries with data visualizations so that they can compare their inputs and outputs to other libraries nationwide. There's a 3-minute overview video at the ALA URL on the slide, which I'll also put in this week's Canvas module. I mentioned the IMLS Search and Compare tool. This tool is connected, I think I mentioned it last week. This tool is connected to PLA's benchmark tool and uses the same data. The interface here is fairly complex and robust, but you can drill down to really useful data to see how your library compares. You can filter the data by revenue, staff size, circulation, and all kinds of other facets. QSAC is the Quality Services Audit Checklist, and it's a voluntary program that libraries in Michigan can apply for. There are 3 levels libraries can be certified in: essential, enhanced, and excellent. The standards they need to achieve are more involved and more complex as you increase through the levels. It sets benchmarks at the different levels of service in areas like collection development. For example, the percent of the budget spent on materials, percent of items added in the last 5 years. It sets standards for those things. Standards for technology, like the number of public computer stations per capita, the percent of the budget spent on technology. And there are standards for facilities, equipment, human resources, and even standards for governance and administration. Other states have similar programs, so check your state library to see what your state offers if you're not from Michigan. Community data helps us create a profile of the people that the library serves. This includes race, age, income levels, educational attainment, languages spoken, housing data, and other categories within the U.S. Census. Business and industry data can be found through databases like DataAxle, Demographics Now, Opportunity Insights. SEMCOG is the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, and provides community profiles with census data that includes future forecasts. Annual reports, strategic plans of cities, counties, and large businesses are often available on their website. These are some sources of community data. There is a page of diversity data resources in the Module 2. Diversity data helps libraries focus their resources so that it provides both windows and mirrors. The windows and mirrors concept is often related to collection development, but it applies to all library services. The idea is that the library offers windows to allow people to learn about different cultures, worldviews, lifestyles, and mirrors that reflect those represented in the community. And you want both. Intersectionality is where different diversity markers cross. People are dynamic. They represent races, ages, religions, political views, lifestyles, and more, and they can't be defined in just one way. There are limits to the data that's available. First of all, much of the diversity data collected is at state or national levels rather than local. Second, the data often follows rigid definitions. Categories like non-binary are often missing. Asking people to fill out surveys in which they self-identify is great, but only if the categories offered actually match how those people identify. There are a lot of nuances to things like gender, sexuality, race, and religion. For example, the Arab race has always been considered white in the US Census. They are adding a MENA, M-E-N-A category, stands for Middle Eastern North African, category in the future, but past data will always lump that group of people in with white. This module is filled with links that will help your groups with your proposals. You'll want to compare the library you are proposing for to its peers. You'll want to look at that library's annual report, strategic plan, its mission, vision, core values, and any other documents on its webpage, or just ask them for it. You'll want to look at the demographics of the community it serves and show how your proposal will both benefit them and help the library meet its mission to serve those people. Who is the target demographic of your proposal, and what is the profile or makeup of that audience in your community? For example, if you're proposing early literacy program, you'll want to show how that service might improve school data like test scores or reading levels, how the school's data compares to other similar communities, and the age breakdown of residents in the community. What other early literacy resources exist in the community, and how will a new program at the library help rather than compete with those existing resources? What percent of the community are school-aged and specifically impacted by early literacy intervention? How will your approach to this program change based on the literacy and education attainment rates of the parents who will support this program? You'll want to consider the diversity of your community and suggest inclusive approaches or accommodations. You'll want to discuss the inputs you'll need to make your proposal happen, the outputs you expect and hope to achieve, as well as the outcomes you hope to achieve. You'll want to include a plan for how you will assess the data you gather to tell if your proposal was successful. In conclusion, libraries collect data on inputs and outputs. There are resources we put in and the quantitative results. Standards and benchmarks give us a starting point. Resources like PLA's benchmarking tool, the IMLS Search and Compare, and QSAC give us service levels to aim for. It is helpful to also analyze outcomes, which are the results of using library services. Outcomes measure how behaviors and attitudes change after experiencing a library program, a collection, or another service. Project outcome is the gold standard for outcome assessment. It includes a toolkit with surveys, data dashboards, and more to make outcome measurement easy. Community data helps us define who we serve demographically, including race, age, languages spoken, income, educational attainment, and more. Diversity data helps us focus our services and be inclusive. It helps us create windows to learn about other cultures and lifestyles, and mirrors that reflect those represented in our community. Group proposals include all of these things. I will be super impressed if your proposal proves the need for the new service in all of these ways and suggests outcomes you hope to achieve too, and how you will measure them.